And I've got a team of college students with a car that we haven't had on track yet. So about 2013, I had a shop in Columbus called Push Racing, and I was maintaining high-end road racing cars for clients, both in the United States and Europe and Canada. You know, I was proud of having my own business because I built it from nothing. I was a guy that loved working on cars, loved interesting things, and I had to learn. But when I think about my academic career when I was young, I didn't come from money to be able to do it. We looked flashy and interesting, but I just couldn't go out and buy things. You had to build it. So that's what, you know, made me smart and gave me opportunities. In college, I really, to be frank, had an unsatisfying college career. I think for a lot of bright people that are driven, college might be slow, or there's only certain things. Maybe you have a hard time finding a mentor or lead. And I just didn't find good guidance. I knew the things that I wanted to do. I knew there was a way, but I didn't get to, you know, really go after that. So, you know, college, I did my thing there, but I learned as much as I could, working on engineering projects with students, focusing on different things. And I actually worked as a Ferrari mechanic my senior year of college, which is pretty good because I went from a bicycle mechanic my freshman year to working on Ferraris my senior. Not bad. But that stuck with me, not enjoying college and really struggling to find your way in life. You know, it's hard to find a mentor, it's hard to do all that. And I had been mentoring some college students with engineering and fabrication, and I had also been around the exotic car scene a lot. And something that also hit me that bothered me, and first of all, this is America. You can do whatever you want with money. God bless you for earning it, or whatever. But, you know, that can have a psychological effect on people after a while. And I had seen these people blowing many hundreds of thousands of dollars on cars at a whim, losing hundreds of thousands of dollars to depreciation, or buying twin turbos for 6 figures that you're not going to get that money back. And that's cool, but it kind of hit me. It's like, really? You couldn't think of something cool to do with your money where you'd make it, or, you know, help the community or something? I realized that I had developed a lot of skills and talents over the years. I had learned how to think and attain and build, and I built a business, and I knew incredible people from racing and cars and concours and exotic cars. Everybody from CEOs, entrepreneurs, fighter pilots, engineers, everything. And I thought to myself, if I'm going to be involved with cars or go racing anyway, why don't I do this in a way that matters for young people? Why don't I make their college experience be more fruitful and give them the opportunities I never had? And maybe we can do some incredible car racing project that'll be the shining jewel on the resume, and they'll actually get noticed when they go to get a job. The concept for Genius Garage was born. It was 2013. And there's a number of people, some guys that worked with me and some interesting people I knew that loved the idea, and we were looking to get some funding and creating it, and it just didn't quite happen. It's harder to sell a concept, no matter how good it is, than something that really works. At the end of the year, we didn't really have any traction, and kind of wanted to get an IndyCar. I thought that would be a good idea for it as a project. And one of the guys said to me, that worked for me, said there's actually one for cheap on eBay that's a project. So I looked, and it just hit me again. I'm like, Genius Garage is too good of an idea not to do. This has to happen. I'm doing it no matter what. Which is a major undertaking for a guy. I think I was like 31 at the time. And so it's just like, yeah, I'm just going to start my own educational program with college students and turn them into an IndyCar, and I'm just going to magically fund this and do all this and teach them how to do an IndyCar, and we're going to go compete with it. No big deal. So the first car for Genius Garage was a 1997 Reynard, technically a champ car, but everybody understands IndyCars a lot better. That was the year of the split, but for all intents and purposes, IndyCars from when IndyCars were the fastest and most technological in the night. The particular one was a Hogan car driven by Dario Franchitti. The guy selling it was actually the nephew to a very famous Ferrari Formula One car driver, actually, even though I'm not sure the apple fell real close to the tree on that one. But he was a nice guy, and I got this godforsaken project of a car with a blown-up engine. Of course, the original engine was this Mercedes turbo, went back to the factory, and it had ran in a series called the American IndyCar Series in the early 90s, where you could take a stock pushrod variant Chevy that was methanol, make about the same horsepower, and crazy people would race those too. So it was a major project, and I brought it to the shop, and I set aside half my shop, and I did this program, and I figured all the ways to make the educational program, do everything proper, and got this very diverse team of driven students that I don't know if one of them had ever changed oil, but they were all engineering students and whatnot, and they all had really cared, were really into it, amazing young people. And for the next 4 months, we took this old IndyCar that had no electronics, no engine in it, and we engineered the entire chassis to now have this semi-stress engine, which we actually made it burn gas, and we changed the coolant system, we changed the fuel cell. I mean, it was a massive engineering project. And me being the philanthropic loony that I am, I decided, no, we're not going to put mechanical fuel injection or carburetor on this. We're going to put electronic fuel injection, and I'm going to teach these students how to program the entire system and devise all of this while we put this car together and create a team out of college students. And we're going to race it for our first race at the Brickyard Invitational in June at Indy, which we did. It was great. There was this old team, this racing Le Mans team. They went bankrupt. And they let me rent this shop, which is like 10,000 square foot, still epoxy floors and all this beautiful stuff on the cheap with these students. But it was part of this giant, creepy, basically abandoned 80,000 square foot warehouse that used to be a distribution hub for like everything from wine to sports equipment to whatever. But it's basically this giant, creepy, dark warehouse that now we're building race cars in. We've actually programmed it. It's actually working. This is looking good. Okay, I've vintage raced a lot, done all this. I'm thinking, we got a car, we got a team. We're going to Indy. We're going to be on Gasoline Alley with these college students. This is an amazing dream shot. And the last few days to it, we're doing all this work on it. And one of the students, I remember it being like 2 in the morning and we're up. We did final setup, scaling of the car, making it perfect. And I'm in this tiny cockpit with them and we're soldering some final wires and all and falling asleep. And he still tells this story. He's like, Casey, I remember you sitting in the cockpit, soldering in the cockpit and like falling asleep. And then you'd wake up and just keep soldering. He's like, dude, I don't know how you did that. So we get to Indianapolis, we're on Gasoline Alley, it's amazing. This is the first event that amateurs have ever gotten to go to the Brickyard like this. And we're racing on the F1 track. People have flown in F1 cars from Europe, we got Indy cars in this, and I've got a team of college students with a car that we haven't had on track yet. I still feel confident in this and the car's gonna be good, but to be perfectly honest, the car's never moved under its own power before. It's ran, I know the gearbox is there, we set it up, the clutch works, you do everything, it'll work, but technically we haven't ran it yet. I have really put my life reputation on the line for these college students and any liquidity I had to build this educational program. And I'm getting in a like 800 horsepower Indy car that I've never driven, on a track I've never driven, in this giant event with Formula One cars from Europe. What could go wrong? It'll be okay. But I remember sitting there and the stress was cut with the most humorous, comical cartoon moment you've ever seen that is the most glorious cliche ever. These Italian guys who had come in with a Formula One bright red Ferrari stopped right in front of us. And it was funny as can be because somebody bumped something and it hit something and they all start screaming at each other in Italian. They're like, hey! And I remember being stressed out, but I looked at my students and we looked and we're like, this is the funniest thing we've ever seen, even though we're stressed out. I feel like we're watching Family Guy right now at Indianapolis. But anyway, so we go to get on the track, we start it up, pretend like we've done this before. Let's just be AJ Foyt, all wear white, and we look good even if we've been in the garage for the last 2 months and dirty. Car drives away great, we look like $1 million bucks, the kids are amazing, everything's good. We go out on the track, there's cars everywhere, it's a zoo. I think we had an exhaust manifold gasket leaking a little, we replaced that, got it, everything's great. The students are amazing, a lot of attention, they look like a great team. So qualifying's coming up, and I'm thinking we've got to get out of this melee with all these slower cars. This is a fast car. We have a legitimate shot at podium, honestly. I got to get this thing in the top 5. Let's get out of this melee. So we go out, car's warmed up, looking good, sounding good. Because everything was so insanely tight in that car, you couldn't put a mechanical water pump on it because it was now a partially stressed engine. That's where the fuel cell was. So we had an electric water pump with the 2 radiators that we had this beautiful TIG welded thing that we did where it would bring the water now to where the turbo actually used to be in the bell housing area, the transaxle, and pump the engine. And the reason that boring trivial engineering detail is important is because of this. So the gauge for the driver tells you water temperature, oil pressure, oil temperature, all the basics that you need for a race car. And I'm out there starting to go fast, starting to put down some halfway respectable lap times, and I come out onto the back stretch, get on the back stretch, I'm like, it's slightly down on power, slightly. But all the gauges are saying everything's reasonable, water temperature. Unbeknownst to me, and to no fault of the students our own, the engine builder, who put in the freeze plugs in the size of the block, didn't put them in properly. One of them popped out. And since we have this really awesome electric water pump, it pumped all of the coolant out of the car practically instantaneously. And now I'm going full throttle with no coolant. Didn't make it real far. All of a sudden I notice it's down on power and I'm like, wait a minute, is it running? And I kind of back off the power and get back on it and back off, and all of a sudden, downshifting, and it sounds the worst thing you ever, like, boom, 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 boom. Down to the first turn I get on, I'm like, oh, it's bad. Got offline, going off like this. I look in the mirrors, there's a smoke trail. I'm like, are you kidding me? I got way offline. We go over to the side, home and straight, way in the marbles. I don't want to get anybody's way. I'm pretty know we're done. Like, engines don't make that noise. And it was very depressing, but it was a great learning lesson to the students. It was disappointing for me, honestly, because Indy for that first year, for anybody driving there, any of the teams part of it, you know, it was something of an emotional, romantic place to be. All the hours that we put in, everything we did to get there, literally just went up in smoke. And it was no one's fault. The work that had caused that was done by a professional. And maybe it was just a mistake of tolerances or something like that, but it wasn't something we would check. It wasn't something anyone would check. We don't have a spare. Time to be a real leader. So we talked about it, and I said, you guys, we're done for this race, obviously. But what you've done has never been done before. No college kids that have ever not worked on something in engineering have ever gotten together and re-engineered an IndyCar from the most technological point in history and just gone head-to-head with F1 cars at Indianapolis on the F1 track. And yeah, we got hosed. We got bad luck here. And I said, okay guys, we're gonna be sportsmen. There's other teams here and there's great people. Let's go see who else needs help, because I want you guys to get a great experience out of it. So all of us, we just volunteered to help other racers with IndyCars, F1 cars, etc. And what's great about that is the students got to learn from other cars. They got to meet other people. They got to learn an incredible life lesson in sportsmanship, and that was that. Of course, we put the car back together and fixed it afterward, but that was the first year of Genius Garage. That crazy time when a wild guy felt very philanthropic to do the impossible, and we did the impossible. We just didn't have the finishing result we wanted. You know, if you're a college kid and suddenly some eccentric goofball says, let's just become an IndyCar team and this is going to help you get jobs. They dig it. They're in. Let's do this internship. How I came here to meet Ed Bolian and VINwiki was one of my students from that year, Austin Wright, who's at The Ohio State University, finishing his aerospace engineering degree. He changed his major to aerospace engineering because that year on the team, I put him in charge of aerodynamics and suspension setup. He was a freshman in college. But the reason I chose him was because when he was in high school, he worked with radio control cars. And I remember interviewing him. I said, well, why'd you do that with the suspension setup? Why'd you do that? How did you fix this? And this kid in high school knew everything that went into real cars and racing, but he did with radio control. And other students from that year have also blossomed. I remember Shreyas Shiva Prasad, he did his undergraduate in Indy, and he was the one that I put in charge and mentored with doing the electronic fuel injection and the ignition system that powered our Indy car. That put him over the top and got him his job. He went out to San Francisco area, got an amazing job, and then quickly got scooped up by Tesla. Works at Palo Alto. And then another student from another year works at Tesla, and it went from there. And I remember Shreyas, who didn't even know the American culture well. It was neat because now here's a guy who came fresh to America, starry-eyed with this amazing culture of ours, got to be part of an IndyCar team, got to build an IndyCar with his peers, and become part of the American culture and love it. And actually, he gave me a really nice gift after it was all over. He gave me a wallet, a nice wallet, and a card. And said, Casey, I know what you went through to do this, and I know you didn't get anything out of it. It cost a lot of money, but just remember that every dollar you spent on the program and the students is paying 100-fold to everybody in the future. And it was very meaningful. So that was the time that a bunch of college kids got Dario Franchitti's old Reynard Champ car and went after it at Indianapolis with Genius Garage.
I'd like to thank the guys at Avalon King for supporting the channel this month. If you want to try it out yourself, there's a link in the description below.